Have you ever been just sitting there, maybe staring out a window, just deep in thought, and then suddenly you hit a wall? I don't mean you run out of ideas. I mean like a sudden, really deep, almost physical silence inside your head.
The signal just cuts out.
Yes, exactly. Signal cuts. Or, okay, let's flip it completely. Have you ever been just going about your day and you hear a voice in your head start arguing with you?
All the time.
But here's the kicker, and I want you to really think about this. It doesn't quite sound like you. It sounds like someone else.
It's a distinct voice. It's a universal experience, absolutely. But it's one we rarely talk about because, well, frankly, it sounds a little unstable when you say it out loud.
Right. You think, am I going crazy?
You worry that if you admit that, people might look at you a little differently. But what if I told you that neither of those experiences is a mistake, that they're evidence of a highly sophisticated system working exactly as it was designed to?
And that is exactly what we are digging into today on this deep dive. We're exploring the reality of the mind and, more specifically, the secrets that your own brain might be actively, hiding from you. We've got a stack of really fascinating insights today, all drawn from psychology facts, some neuroscience, consciousness research.
And we're even touching on what some might call dark psychology.
Yeah, and not in the manipulative sense, but more in understanding the shadow side of our own survival mechanisms. And honestly, it's a little unsettling.
It can be unsettling, I get that. It challenges our whole sense of control of who's in charge.
For sure.
But if we look at the source material we're working with, we're seeing the brain not just as like a computer that processes data.
Which is the old metaphor.
It's the old clunky metaphor we've used for decades. But as a complex survival machine, a biological engine, and sometimes for that machine to survive, it has to filter reality. It sometimes has to lie to the operator.
To you.
To you.
It's like the brain is this overprotective parent. Just saying, nope, you can't handle the truth, so I'm just going to put it on the top shelf where you can't reach it. So our mission today is to help you understand two specific, kind of spooky phenomena that I think everyone has felt. First, why we sometimes feel completely detached from reality.
That floaty feeling.
Yeah, like we're in a video game. And second, who exactly is speaking when we hear that inner narrator? Because according to our sources, it might not be you.
And that's the part that really grabs you, isn't it? But I want to frame this right from the start for everyone listening. We're going to talk about dark truths and voices and fragments of consciousness.
It sounds like science fiction.
It does, but this isn't a ghost story. It's evolutionary biology. It's neuroscience. It's the literal mechanics of how you exist.
I don't know, it feels a little bit like a ghost story to me. I mean, the whole idea that my brain is keeping secrets from me, that there are locked doors in my own house, that gives me this mix of excitement and, I'll be honest, a little bit of existential dread.
The stranger inside.
Yes, the stranger inside.
And that dread is natural. It's actually part of the mechanism we're going to break down. But my goal today is to reassure you. What feels like a malfunction, that silence, that detachment, that arguing voice, it's actually a sophisticated design.
A feature, not a bug.
It's a feature, not a bug. It's your brain prioritizing your survival over your complete self-awareness.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to know what's behind that door. Let's start with the silence.
Let's do it.
So one of the key findings in our source material is this idea of a specific silence inside your brain that hides a secret. Now, when I first read that, I thought, okay, that's poetic.
A little dramatic.
Very noir. Right. But they're talking about something physiological, aren't they? This isn't just like writer's block.
They are. And to understand this, we have to kind of rethink what deep thought even is. We have this image of introspection as this moment of total clarity where we suddenly have access to the entire library of our minds.
Right. Like if I just think hard enough, I'll figure it all out.
Yeah. If I just dig deep enough, I can know myself completely. But the research suggests that during those moments of really intense introspection, your mind isn't opening all the doors. It's actually engaging a blocking mechanism.
A blocking mechanism. Yeah. So I'm trying to get to the core of, who am I or why did I do that thing? And my brain just goes, nope, access denied.
Precisely. The source describes it as a physical sensation. You literally hit a point where the flow of information just stops. That silence isn't an absence of noise. It's an active barrier. Think of it like a security clearance level in some classified government building. Yeah. You have clearance for the lobby, maybe the first floor offices where you decide what to eat for lunch.
Okay.
But the basement, the server room where the core algorithms of your personality are running, The brain keeps those doors locked tight.
That is wild. It's like a government redaction happening in real time inside my own head. But why? What could possibly be down there that's so dangerous?
Well, the source material is pretty blunt about this. It says neuroscientists have found that the mind blocks certain truths about yourself.
Truths about yourself. Okay,
Correct.
that is ominous. Because we all like to think we know ourselves pretty well.
Of course.
I know my favorite color. I know I hate cilantro. I know my history. But you're saying there's a level deeper than that.
Much, much deeper. I mean, think about the sheer amount of data your brain is holding, not just memories, which are already vast and often get rewritten over time,
Right.
but impulses, instincts, traumatic associations, biological drives. If you had conscious access to every single firing neuron, every primal urge, every suppressed fear, every single calculation your subconscious is making about threats in the room, you would be overwhelmed.
It would just be too much noise.
It would be paralyzing. There's a concept in cognitive science, the interface theory of perception.
Okay.
It suggests that if we saw reality as it truly is, all the raw data, all the quantum physics, the biological machinery, the inevitability of decay, we wouldn't be able to function.
We'd be too distracted to even eat.
Or walk. So the brain curates the feed. It gives you the user interface of you, not the raw code running in the background.
The user interface of you. I love that analogy. So I'm just clicking around on my desktop icons, my personality, my job, my hobbies, thinking I'm running the show.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a whole operating system underneath, lines of code that I'm not allowed to touch because I might break the whole machine.
Exactly. I mean, if you went and deleted a System32 file on your computer, the whole thing crashes. Your brain basically makes sure you can't even find that file.
Wow.
And this is where it gets fascinating and, yeah, maybe a little dark. The source explicitly warns the answers you're looking for are darker than you think.
Yeah, that line really stuck with me. Darker than you think. That sounds like a tagline for a horror movie.
Right.
Why does the brain classify self-knowledge as dark? Are we all secretly evil or something?
You don't think it means evil in a moral sense, though our brains certainly harbor aggression and selfishness that we politely suppress.
Yeah.
I think dark here means things that are dangerous to your psychological stability. Our sources are clear that this blocking mechanism isn't a malfunction, it's survival.
Survival. So knowing the full truth about myself could actually, hurt me?
It could destabilize you. I mean, think about what survival really is. Evolution does not care if you are happy.
No.
It doesn't care if you're self-actualized. It is a pragmatist. It only cares if you function. Can you get up, find food, and reproduce? That's the whole game.
That's the checklist.
That's it. So if there's a truth deep inside you, maybe a raw realization about your own mortality, or a past trauma you're not ready to process, or just a terrifying awareness of your isolation in the universe, if that truth would cause you to freeze up,
The brain locks it away.
it puts it in the vault. That silence you feel, that's the sound of the heavy vault door swinging shut. It's about metabolic efficiency, too. Processing that kind of dark existential dread takes a ton of energy.
Energy you need for other things.
Energy you should be using to navigate the physical world and keep your body alive. That actually makes so much sense. It's like, you know when you're in a really high-stress situation, like a car accident or some kind of crisis, and you realize later that you didn't feel any fear in the moment.
Yes.
You just acted. You became a robot.
That is a very similar mechanism. It's often called cognitive tunneling.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain literally says, we don't have time for fear right now. We need to survive.
So this silence is that, but on an existential level.
Correct. It prioritizes fitness over truth. It's the ultimate pragmatic move. And this leads us directly to that physical sensation the sources talk about, which I think is one of the most misunderstood experiences in mental health.
Detachment.
Detachment.
Yes. The floaty thing. The source says that feeling detached from reality is a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, myself included, you freak out when you feel this.
Of course you do.
You're sitting there maybe in a meeting and suddenly your hands don't look like your hands. The room feels like a movie set. You feel not real.
Like you've clipped out of the map in a video game.
Yes. That's exactly it. It's a phenomenon called derealization or depersonalization. And in the clinical world, it's a very well-documented symptom of high anxiety or trauma. But for the average person, when it hits, the immediate reaction is panic.
Am I going crazy? Is my brain breaking? What's happening to me?
Do I have a tumor? But the source is so clear, it's not a malfunction.
It's a shield.
It is a shield. Think of it like a circuit breaker in your house. If too much voltage comes through, too much stress, too much emotion, too much input, The breeder trips.
And the lights go out.
The lights go out, not because the wiring is bad, but to save the house from burning down. The brain initiates a detachment sequence to distance you, the conscious observer, from the reality that's hurting you.
So it's dampening the signal.
It's turning the volume down on reality because the input is just too loud. It creates a buffer zone. You aren't in the world anymore. You are watching the world on a screen. And that distance makes the pain or the fear manageable.
It buys you time.
It buys you time to recover without the system completely blowing a fuse.
That is actually incredibly comforting. Because when you're in that state, you feel very broken. You feel like you're losing your grip. But knowing it's a defense mechanism, that changes everything.
It shifts the perspective from I am damaged to I am protected.
From a pathology to a strategy.
Exactly. So if you, as a listener, are feeling that weird, floaty sense of unreality or that sudden blank silence, the absolute worst thing to do is panic.
Because panic just adds more voltage.
It just adds more voltage to the system, which makes the breaker stay tripped even longer. The best thing to do is recognize it. See it as a sign that your brain is working correctly to shield you.
It's saying, I've got this.
I've got this. I'm putting up a buffer until you're ready to handle the raw data again.
I like that. It's like a Secret Service agent jumping in front of the president yelling, get down.
That's a great analogy. The silence and the detachment are your Secret Service. They push you down. They cover your head. It might be uncomfortable. You might scrape your knee, but you survived the bullet.
Okay, so that's the silence. That's the brain hiding things, blocking things, quieting things down. The defense.
The shield.
But now,
Yeah.
let's flip that coin. Because the brain isn't just a sensor, it's also a creator. And sometimes, instead of silence, it gets really loud.
This is where we transition from the defense mechanisms to the simulation mechanisms. And this is where things get really active and, frankly, even stranger.
Let's talk about the voices.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, because the source material makes a really specific distinction here, we aren't talking about clinical auditory hallucinations, hearing sounds outside your head.
Right. Not schizophrenia.
We are talking about the inner narrator, that stream of consciousness, that chatter in your head.
The internal monologue that narrates your life. Yeah.
But the source says something that, I'm not going to lie, it gave me chills. It asks, have you ever heard a voice in your head and realized it doesn't sound like you?
And that is a pivotal question because it challenges our fundamental assumption about identity.
It really does. Because I think we all just assume the voice in our head is, well, us, it's me talking to me. But the research they're citing says the human brain creates a separate voice, a distinct entity.
This touches on a really fascinating area of consciousness research, sometimes called the dialogical self. We tend to think of the self as this single, unified thing. I am one person. I have one mind.
Right, a monolith.
But neurologically, the brain is modular. It has different parts doing different things. And this inner narrator is described in the source as a fragment of your consciousness.
A fragment. So not the CEO, but maybe like a department head.
That's a good way to put it. It's not the whole you. It's a piece, a subroutine.
And the source says it isn't exactly you. It talks, it argues, it warns.
Yeah.
So I have to ask.
Yeah.
If it's not me and it's in my head, who or what is it?
Well, let's look at the function the source describes for it. It calls this voice a simulation.
A simulation.
A simulation your mind builds to test decisions before you make them.
Okay, so it's kind of like a sandbox mode in a video game, where you can mess around and see what happens without any real consequence.
Or even better, a flight simulator. A pilot, before they fly a real multi-million-dollar plane into a storm, they'll run a simulation to see what happens.
And if they crash, no big deal.
No one dies, the plane doesn't burn, they just reset and try a different approach. Your brain is running a flight simulator of your life constantly.
And that voice, that separate entity, is the test pilot.
It is the test pilot.
Okay, let's ground this. Let's use a real example. So when I'm standing in the kitchen, debating if I should eat that leftover pizza or go for a run.
The classic dilemma.
Right. And I hear a voice go, you're going to regret that pizza. And another part of me says, but it's delicious.
Yeah.
You're saying that's not just me being indecisive.
That is the simulation running scenarios. The voice that says, you're going to regret this, is the fragment of your consciousness that has been tasked with projecting into the future. It's simulating the outcome. Stomachache, guilt, lethargy. It's arguing with your present desire in order to test the decision before you actually take the bite.
That explains why the source says it argues with you. I've always found that so weird. How can I argue with myself? If I want the pizza, I want the pizza. Why is there a whole courtroom drama happening in my kitchen?
Because you are not a monarchy. You are a parliament. And this specific voice is the opposition leader. Its job is to poke holes in the ruling party's plan.
So its job is to be difficult.
Evolutionarily, this is brilliant. If you acted on every single impulse immediately, you would be dead. You'd eat the poisonous berry because it looked bright and shiny.
You fight the tiger?
You'd scream at your boss. So, by creating a separate voice, the brain creates a space for conversation. It creates a gap between impulse and action.
And in that gap, you can make a better choice.
And it has to sound a little different from me so that I can treat it as external input. If it sounded exactly like your impulse, you just merge with it. You need the friction.
It's a risk assessment tool, like having a dedicated safety officer on your team.
100%. It's running background scenarios constantly. What if I say this snarky comment to my boss? The voice plays out the whole scene in a split second. The boss gets mad, I get fired, I lose my house.
Right. And then the voice says, don't say it.
Don't say it. It acts out the drama so you can see the ending without having to actually live through it.
That is actually incredibly smart. Evolution is pretty clever at saving me from social suicide on a daily basis.
It's ruthless. It just wants you to survive. And the best way to survive is to make your mistakes in the simulation, not in reality.
But here is where it gets really, really interesting for me. The source says, sometimes that voice knows things you haven't even realized yet.
The oracle aspect.
Yes, the oracle. It says, this voice is the part of your mind that sees beyond you. How is that even possible? If it's a piece of my brain using my data, how could it know things I don't know?
This goes right back to what we were talking about with the silence in the user interface. Your conscious mind, the part of you that's talking right now that thinks in sentences, it has extremely limited bandwidth. It processes maybe 40 to 50 bits of information per second.
That's nothing. That's like dial-up internet in a 5G world.
It's shockingly little, but your subconscious, your sensory processing systems, they're processing millions, maybe billions of bits per second. They are the raw, unfiltered feed from reality.
So the subconscious is the supercomputer.
It's the supercomputer. It notices the micro expressions on someone's face that your conscious mind misses. It notices a subtle shift in the tone of a room. It notices patterns in data that logically haven't clicked for you yet. And this fragment, this inner voice, has access to that massive database.
So when I get a bad feeling about someone, or a voice in my head just says, don't trust this person, even though they're being perfectly nice.
That is the simulator, accessing data points your conscious mind completely missed. It's saying, I've run the numbers based on his pupil dilation, his inconsistent vocal tone, and a similar pattern we saw 5 years ago with that other guy, and the probability of threat is 85%.
But because my conscious mind didn't see the pupils or hear the tone, it just feels like magic. It feels like the voice is psychic.
It's not magic, it's just processing speed. This is what the field calls predictive processing. Your brain is a prediction machine, constantly trying to guess the next moment based on massive data sets from your past.
Intelligence without conscious awareness. That's a heavy concept. It implies that there's a version of me inside that's smarter than me.
Or at least faster and more observant. The source calls it the part that sees beyond you. It sees the trajectory. It's looking down the road while you're looking at the dashboard.
It's like having a supercomputer in the basement, but I only have this little tablet upstairs. I can't run the complex models on the tablet.
Right.
But occasionally, the supercomputer sends a push notification to my tablet.
And that push notification is the voice.
Don't go down that dark alley.
Don't send that angry email.
Call your mother.
Exactly. And the real tragedy is we so often ignore it.
We do. We ignore it all the time. We say, oh, shut up, voice. You're just being paranoid, or you're being negative. We try to override it with our limited logic.
Because it doesn't sound like us. It feels alien, intrusive. We treat it like an unwanted guest instead of a highly advanced survival tool. We think, well, I have no logical reason to distrust this person, so we suppress the voice. We over-intellectualize our survival instincts.
And then 6 months later, when that person inevitably betrays us, we kick ourselves and say, I knew it. I had a feeling.
You did know it. The simulation knew it. You just didn't trust the data because it didn't come with a neat little PowerPoint presentation.
The source material has a very specific instruction about this, which I think is so important. It says, next time you hear that quiet voice, don't ignore it.
That is the crucial takeaway here. I mean, if we accept that this voice is a simulation built on deep data we can't consciously access, then ignoring it is just foolish.
It's a waste of biological resources.
It's like ignoring the collision warning system in your car because you find the beeping sound annoying.
Yeah.
You might not like what it's saying. It might be arguing for something really uncomfortable, like leaving a stable but unhappy relationship or confronting a hard truth. It might be the voice of tough love. But it is always arguing for your survival.
So we've got these two sides of the same coin. We have the silence, the brain blocking dark truths to keep us stable.
A shield.
And we have the voice, the simulation, trying to warn us of future dangers by arguing with us.
The radar.
Let's connect those dots because they feel opposite, don't they? One is shutting up. One is talking nonstop.
But they have a shared goal.
The goal is survival.
The goal is continuity, keeping the organism you alive and functional. The silence protects you from the internal depths that might drown you, the trauma, the existential weight. The voice protects you from the external mistakes that might kill you, the bad decisions, the dangerous people.
The brain is a dual agent. It's a sensor and a simulator.
And both are operating mostly in the dark, from our perspective. They're managing the whole system so you don't have to consciously think about it.
It really makes you rethink the whole concept of control. We like to think we're the captain of the ship. We're gripping the wheel, staring at the horizon.
We're wearing the hat.
We're wearing the hat, but really, we're just the guy holding the wheel while the autopilot does 95% of the work.
We are the user interface. We are the story the brain tells itself to make sense of its own operations. We often just rationalize the decisions that the silence and the voice have already made for us.
It's humbling, but also, is it weird that I find that kind of comforting?
Not at all. I think it's empowering. It means you're not alone in there. You have a support staff.
That's a much nicer way to look at it. The stranger inside isn't an intruder. It's a co-pilot.
A co-pilot who works the night shift and handles all the messy stuff so you can enjoy the view.
I want to circle back to that idea of the dark truths one more time. The source said the secrets are darker than you think. If we have this inner narrator, this guide, can it help us navigate that darkness? Because I don't want the doors to stay locked forever.
I think that's the ultimate maturation of the mind. The source says the silence hides the secret, but maybe the voice is the key to slowly, safely unlocking it.
Oh, I see. So instead of the door just flying open and overwhelming us, which would trigger that detachment panic we talked about,
Exactly.
the voice allows us to process it piece by piece in a controlled way.
Precisely. When you argue with yourself, when you interrogate your own feelings via that inner narrator, you are safely exploring those dark rooms. You're using the simulation to test the waters. Can I handle this truth? Can I face this fear?
So the argument in your head isn't just about whether or not to eat pizza. It's about processing reality.
It's about integrating your own shadow. If you really listen to the arguments, you might find they're leading you toward those secrets the silence is hiding. It's a form of safe exposure. It's your brain's way of doing therapy on itself.
At a pace you can survive.
At a pace you can survive.
This changes everything about how I'm going to spend my quiet time. I used to be afraid of that silence, and I used to get so annoyed at the voice.
And now
I realize it's a system designed for me. It's a pretty incredible system.
it is the most complex object in the known universe, and it's sitting right between your ears.
So let's wrap this up with some key takeaways for everyone listening, because we've covered some really heavy psychological ground here.
We have. Okay, I think the first big takeaway is reframing detachment. If you ever feel that disconnect, that silence, that wall, don't view it as a glitch.
View it as a shield?
View it as a shield. Your brain is buffering. Give it time and space. Don't fight the silence. Let it protect you.
Right. It's a circuit breaker. Let it cool down before you try to flip the switch again. And the second takeaway is about the voice.
That inner voice is a simulation tool. It's not just noise. It's often smarter than your conscious mind because it has access to more data. It's the oracle in the machine.
So the actionable advice here is simple, but really hard. Listen.
Listen to the argument. Don't just dismiss that intrusive thought or that warning voice as anxiety. Ask it questions. Why are you saying that? What do you see that I don't? Engage with the opposition leader.
Treat it like a trusted advisor who just walked into your office with a grim look on their face. You might not want to hear the news, but you probably need to.
Exactly. It might save you from a huge mistake, or it might lead you to a truth you're finally ready to handle.
And I want to leave everyone listening with a final thought. We've talked about the brain hiding truths. We've talked about the voice being a separate entity. The source material really pushes this idea that these things aren't exactly you.
Which leads to the inevitable and very difficult question.
If your brain is hiding reality to protect you, And the voice in your head is a simulation running scripts. Then who is really driving the car? Who is the you that is listening to this right now?
That's the question that keeps neuroscientists and philosophers up at night.
And now, hopefully, it'll keep all of you up at night, too.
In a good way.
In a deep dive way. Thank you for exploring the dark corners of the mind with us today. Keep listening to the show.
And keep listening to that voice inside.
See you next time.